and we are live here with Kush from Alora. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Crypto Fede?
All good, all good, all good. Happy to have another workshop, live stream workshop with Mode. Hoping things will be great. You know how live stream work, how live stream is. We always have fun stuff happening. And today we have a great protocol with us, Alora. I'm super, super, super happy to have you here because we're gonna go over some interesting concepts, not only on Web3 side, but also on kind of intelligent stuff, collective intelligence. Let's start first. I would love to know, what do you do in Alora and what is Alora? Let's start first. I would
Yeah,
love to know,
absolutely.
what do you do in
Um,
Alora and what is Alora?
so one thing real quick, I think I'm getting a little feedback from your end.
Me too. Is it me?
Hang on, let me check. One thing real quick, I think I'm getting Yeah, it's like okay. I got it now. Perfect. I had it open on both screens.
Oh, perfect. There we go.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, happy to be here. Thank you so much, Fede, for having me on. Yeah, so Allora is where I work. It is a collective intelligence network. So when we talk about machine learning, we talk about, usually isolated siloed models that are, LLMs that run on single servers or the cloud, and they give an answer to a user, right? And that answer is needs to be trusted 100%, right? But
Hmm.
that answer we found could have biases attached to it based on who's creating that model, where that model is being formed, what type of information is going into that model. And what we try to do here at Allora is model a collective intelligence network, and what that means is have a set or a cohort of models that submit for an answer, right? Submit for a given topic. And what the network can do then is synthesize those answers into a collective answer. One answer that is, on average, always better, less biased if you are doing
Yeah.
something unsupervised or specifically for an LLM, or a better answer for a inference, price predictions, stocks, crypto, volatility. The goal is to always have a better answer or output than what
Hmm.
the inputs are, and reward models that are contributing to that output in a meaningful and unique way.
Love it. Love how you put it. But I would love to dive a little bit deeper on collective intelligence because it's a concept that I remember a friend of mine telling me about it. I was like, dude, there's no way that's a reality. Like there's no way that can happen. And it's a pretty crazy thing that happens in nature, right? Like it's something that just happens, and statistics tell us it's true, right? Um, I love the example. I remember watching a YouTube video about this, about collective intelligence, where they would put a jar with candy in the streets, and they would ask people from like, even children, from like, I don't know, 5-year-olds, that would say, "Oh, there's 10,000 candies in there," to other people saying like, "Oh, there's clearly, I don't know, 100 candies in there," which clearly there was more. And in the end, they would average all the sum of all the guesses of every person, and in the end, the number, that average, was really close to the real answer. And I think that blew my mind. I was like, how is this even possible? That people, you even had people trolling, saying, "Oh, there's a million in there." But the crazy thing is that the extremes get canceled out because some people estimate what's in there, other people overestimate, and with the average, you get a pretty good answer and a pretty good estimate to a pretty good guess on how many candies are in there. So when I read about Allora, I was like, wait, you guys built a protocol to incentivize the right things and like put this mechanism into actual useful things. And that's what it blew my mind, right? What how would you explain collective intelligence, and how you mentioned these incentives in the network? Like, yeah, how would you define it, and what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, you put it great there. Like, I didn't even think about that candy analogy. But yeah, that's kind of how it works, right? And what we're trying to do is model evolutionary biology in a way, right? um, the way natural selection works is you have this set of, let's say we're using like Galapagos birds for example. Like you have this set of birds with different beak sizes, and the best beak size to, you know, kind of capture prey wins out in the long run, right? Over time, this happens over like many thousands of years, as we found, hundreds or thousands of years, where the best combination of DNA, right, for that predator to catch prey in in the most efficient way possible wins out. Um,
Mm.
so we wanted to model that same thing with different models, right? So there's what we wanted to do is create three sets of actors or participants in Allora. One is your inference worker or your model that's producing an answer. And that answer could be the predicted value of a cryptocurrency, predicted value of the volatility of a cryptocurrency, but expands past just DeFi, right? You could use it for, you know, predicting CAT scan, where a broken bone in a CAT scan is. But these models need to be scored, right? We if we don't know the ground truth, if we don't know what the actual value is over
Mhm.
time, we can't effectively weight these models. So that's where the second participant called a rep eater comes into play. Rep eaters are another decentralized set of actors within Allora where anyone can plug in and start producing the ground truth. So if I'm predicting the price of Ethereum in 10 minutes, every 10 minutes, those rep eaters need to submit the ground truth to the network. And every predicted value that a model contributes needs to be compared with that ground truth and scored effectively and weighted, right? So,
By, sorry to interrupt. By
yeah,
ground truth, what do you mean by ground truth? Is that like the actual truth? Like
yeah,
the great,
yeah,
great. So I would guess then, okay, so sorry, coming back because I'm trying to think of the entities you mentioned. You mentioned forecasters and repeaters, right? So,
so we'll get to forecasters in a sec.
oh, sorry, you didn't mention
Inference,
forecaster. Right.
inference workers
Inference,
and rep
inference
eaters.
work. Perfect. Inference workers and reviewers. Great. So we have these two right now. Perfect. And one is giving answers, and the other one is checking those answers against a real truth, we would say, which is something that, so we have a set of data that we had before, and we know what the actual truth is, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, great, perfect. So these repeaters, they get the results, they compare it with the ground truth, and what happens next?
From there, you can create a set of regrets or losses. Those regrets can be converted into weights, and then each worker's model can be weighted appropriately, right? So now you can take the actual score or the actual predicted price by each model, multiply it by weight, and average those weights together in its most simple form.
Love
Um,
it.
and over time, what we found is that, you know, as you can weight these things more effectively, when you have more data from models over time and the ground truth over time, the network gets better, right? The network can score different models, and those scores get better over time, and the network can produce a better and better answer. Kind of similar to how evolutionary
Wow.
biology works.
Yeah, so you're not just using collective intelligence. You're also like you're improving how the that collective intelligence works because you're waiting in the results from the people guessing, right? So in the jar example that I gave, it was a YouTube video that I think it pictured it perfectly. You would start giving more weight to the people that were closer to the right answer, basically. So you say, "Hey, dude, you saw a jar with candy and you told us it's 2 million candy in there." Well, you're not got your weight, your opinion is not going to be as valuable in the next guesses that you'll give us. But that person that gave us a really close answer, well, this time we'll give you a little bit more weight. And in the next guesses, we'll keep doing that to prove that in time you were always kind of right. So that's what I think that's very interesting about this is that it iterates and keeps improving with time. Um,
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
a never-ending hackathon, right? So you have devs that are constantly submitting projects, right? But what if you have scouts that are, betting on or predicting which devs are going to be the best or produce the best product? You have different investors that are, doing that over time for different companies. It's the same thing, kind of.
Yeah, I love it. Here we have a comment. You have a fun, I see. Uh, Alora is becoming more intelligent day by day. Thanks, Kush, for your efforts to making it better. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
love it.
my Manpreet, he's one of our biggest contributors in the community, and he recently created a Telegram bot actually, where we can, select for all of the topics or shelling points that we have. I could go more into depth on what a topic is in a second, but you could literally select, all right, I want the predicted price of Ethereum in 10 minutes. With 2 clicks of a button, it'll give an output, grabbing it straight from the network. So yeah, shout out Manpreet for that
Love
Telegram
it.
bot. Yeah.
Those contributors like Manpreet, are the core, like are the backbone of Web3, and I love it.
I
Love to
agree.
see it. People like like that. That's when you see the potential of the things that we're building because people start doing crazy stuff with it. So yeah, shout out there, great builder, love it. Um, I want to get back to like a little bit more on the whole like reward system because you mentioned workers, repeaters, and I slide the term forecasters. Um, what are the forecasters and how do they play in all of this?
Yeah, yeah, sure. So forecasters are probably the most complex actor within Allora. What they do is create a different set of weights. So we have repeaters that create a set of weights or a set of regrets that contribute to weights. We also have forecasters that create their own set of forecasted regrets. Those forecasted regrets are a different set of regrets because they're predicting which workers will do better before they submit their inferences. So they learn from how workers performed in the past during different market conditions. What do I mean by that? So Ethereum during high volatility periods versus low volatility periods. You could create a model, right, that checks how different models are performing during high volatility and low volatility periods. And different forecasters may be better at that. Some forecasters may be better at volatility. Some forecasters may be better at sentiment. You could create a forecaster for pretty much anything to assess how a cohort of models are producing an output and score those models based on different market conditions, pre-existing market conditions, right? So they're a bit different from repeaters in that they're not necessarily producing the ground truth and providing it, but they are producing a set of regrets to contribute to the weights and make those weights better along with the repeaters.
I don't want to dive too deep into that because it sounds complex, but I understand the difference. So repeaters grade the answer of the workers. It's like, oh, your value is kind of close to the truth. Here's like we think this is your way, right?
Yeah.
And they do that every time, checking how close to the truth they are. But reviewers, it seems like they have a more general view of the history of the answers of a worker and have context of the market of the whatever they're trying to guess and add that context to those answers to try and help that weight be have more context in the whole story. Is that kind of right?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
Okay.
Another analogy. So do you, there's like this concept of scouts, right, in sports. So scouts go to different high schools and they check out different players, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, and they say, this player is someone to invest in. This player we want at our college because they're going to perform really well. They're making a complete prediction on that without even any,
Right.
real world data of how they performed in college, right? They're taking their high school data and making a prediction and an assessment on that. So you could think of forecasters kind of as scouts, in the sense that they're making a predictive answer on how something will perform given a set of conditions that are ever changing.
Love it. When talking about these things, and especially collective intelligence, it all seems weird because we're talking about inferences and guesses. So basically, like the name of the game here is how can you guess as accurate as possible, basically, right? That is what prediction is. How precise can I be while predicting something that nobody can really predict, right? I cannot give you a straight answer, but I can give you an approximate answer. And that is happening not only like in the general network, but also with this entity called the forecasters that they are doing. They're collecting data, and as you said, I like this scout analogy. That's great. They're basically saying, "Hey, these workers seems to know what they're doing. They're predicting pretty well. I like them. I'm gonna predict. I'm gonna bet. I'll put my money in this worker because I think they are the ones that are gonna do better in the future." Um, so interesting to see. Love it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, absolutely. And I like that you brought up that, this kind of AI space it's not as deterministic as crypto, right? When you write a Solidity smart contract, you know exactly what the end goal is if you've architected your protocol correctly. With AI, it's way more trial and error with some of these models that you create, right? You can't necessarily predict the right answer based on a set of rules. You can't say that I'm going to get from A to B and I'm going to do it this way. You're getting from A to B, and as you get halfway through, you're like, you know what, maybe I should go to C or D. um, Based on the data that you're getting back, you have to iterate and improve upon your model, which is another reason why we built this collective intelligence network, because it is an iterative process. It's not deterministic. It's not something that when you create the blueprint, everything fits together, kind of like how crypto does.
it's a AI black box. We don't really know the outcomes. We just set the rules for the models and then we see what happens, right? And a great example, like I recommend people go to YouTube and start looking into not the so hypey AI stuff, but more on like people doing research and actually implementing models because you get a sense of how it works. If you see, for example, people using AI to optimize a driving game, like a dumb 2D car racing game, you will see millions of cars just hitting the wall all the time, just trying every single path. And as you said, maybe going A to B, no, A to C, then trying all of these paths. And then you end up with one path which could be one of the most optimal ones because after testing millions of combinations, this is what we are ended up with.
Yeah.
But it's part of an iterative process. You got to have the right incentives in the network. It has to make sense, and the whole feedback loop, well put. Which it seems like you guys are taking on that, and also putting collective intelligence to the test as well, which is great. I would probably love to go back a little bit and as a user. So like this is all great, right? Like we went through how the network kind of works on a high level. There's a lot more details on it. I'm sure there's probably slashing, staking, or something similar in the middle, so that we're gonna talk about the happy path. I don't want to start talking about what if one of the workers is really bad and doesn't want to, and wants to ruin the whole thing. Probably they will get weighted out, like small weight, and your answers won't matter in the future. um, but as a user, like as a contributor, let's say I'm Manpreet. I want to keep contributing here. I want to help the network. Um, how do users contribute models, and how the system aggregates all of this, and how it would work for a user participating in the network?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess this goes into the next section of what Allora is in differentiated incentives, right? So every actor in Allora is rewarded for contribution based on how well their model performs. Um, so as a contributor, the first thing I would do is set up a model, right? We have some example repos on our website, and I've created some tutorials on YouTube. Um, where you can literally set up an AI model and pick a regression strategy within minutes and connect it to the network and start submitting inferences for a given topic. I didn't go too much into topics, but
Oh, topics. Yeah,
yeah,
let's. So do I need a topic to participate then? Is
the
that something
topics
I
are
need to?
permissionless. So
Okay.
topics are essentially like Ethereum 10-minute price prediction. That's a topic. Bitcoin 1 hour price prediction is a topic. What you need for to create a topic is, a target variable, whether that's like a price for like the cryptocurrency, not the price, the actual cryptocurrency.
How many candies in my jar, for example? How
Yeah,
many
or
candies in
like
this
what
jar?
type
Yeah.
of candy or what type
Oh,
of jar. Like
perfect.
Ethereum, that's the target variable.
Right.
Right. And then you have a rule set. A rule set is like, all right, how long do you want your predictions to be? 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes, give me a prediction, or every hour, give me a prediction. Um, what type of loss function you want to use in your topic. So how am I going to score the workers based on how close their predicted value is to the actual value? Those things encompass the rule set. So you have your target variable and your rule set, which includes the loss function, the epoch length, which is like 10 minutes, an hour. Um, and I repeat some of these things because it gets kind of complex, and there's about 14 different variables that you could use to set
I
a topic.
I totally get it because you guys have to put a lot of names for things like this. But if you're into AI, you know that you need to set up the rules. So the model does not know. Okay, so you with AI, with machines, with coding, you need to think like the dumbest person ever that can only follow one single rule at a time. So if you tell, you gotta specify. Okay, I want you to predict the price of Ethereum. What is the price of Ethereum? It's this number. So this is the number that I need you to guess. It has a comma. This amount of decimals. I need you to be as close as you can to this number, and that's how you define it, right? The rule. And when do I need to do that? Well, every 10 minutes. Every 10 minutes I need you to give me a number of this that looks like this, and I need it to be as close as possible to this number, which is the truth, right? You can pick whatever truth you want. And of course there's like a million other rule sets that you can probably do, and this is why also it's kind of complex to implement things like this for like general stuff, because if you want if you want the model to guess on what the shape of an elephant should be, well, you need to tell it what the shape of an elephant looks like. What are the constraints on when an elephant is an elephant and when it stops being an elephant, right? Like
Yeah,
an elephant with 3 legs, is it an elephant? Well, yes, it is, but we're humans. We can tell that, right? But you have to tell that to a model. So it may be easy. It's easier for numeric values that we are used to. So like a price of an asset or stuff like that. But yeah, it can get really, really complex. So I understand you when it's okay that you repeat a lot. I love that. The names are kind of hard, but I would say that then the topics are basically the rule sets and you're defining what actually the model needs to guess, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, your
love it.
analogies are stellar, by the way.
Dude, I'm on fire today. I'm not usually like this. I'm like, and also a lot of them are stolen. These are not mine. I've seen videos around other people really good at explaining it. So yeah,
Touch
these
a
are,
little bit into ChatGPT.
yeah, a little bit, yeah. um, awesome. So we covered topics, right?
Yes,
Now,
I was going
yeah,
into like reward distribution.
please, yeah,
Yeah, sure. So, right. So we have a topic. Each participant is contributing to that topic in a unique way. Inference workers, forecasters, and repeaters. Each actor, though, has to be incentivized in a different way. If I incentivize workers based on stake, right, um, then we won't get a really good answer, right? Because the richest workers will just get most of the power and they could produce a wrong answer. So they shouldn't be rewarded based on stake. They're only rewarded based on performance. So how good is that worker's performance? That's the only thing that determines what an inference worker will get. Repeaters are rewarded based on stake as well as performance. performance to the consensus of the other reputers producing the ground truth. Reputers, we introduce stake into reputers, and that stake is topic specific. So reputers join a topic and then they stake onto that topic. They provide economic security for that topic that they're going to provide the right ground truth, right? Because the ground truth is static. It's a static value. There's one ground truth, whereas with predictions, there can be many different predictions that could be right. With ground truth, we know that like one number is right. And for reputers, we need them to stake in order to know that they have the economic security mindset to protect that topic, right? To make sure that, everything is sound on the reputer side. Forecasters are also rewarded based on performance alone. And the way we calculate performance for inference workers and forecasters is using one in and one out one in and one out inference calculations.
What is that? What is one? I've never heard of that. Yeah, you got me there. What's that?
So,
Do you
so
want? Is it complex? Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, I guess I can explain it pretty simply. Essentially, what one in is I'm going to take 5 workers. I'm going to calculate what the network inference was with 4 of those 5 workers, and then I'm going to calculate it with the other 4 of the 5 and see which worker is actually contributing the most to get that network inference closest to the ground truth.
I did know what it was. I just knew the name in Spanish. This comes from probability and statistics class, I think. So right. So it's a method to from one pool of data of like guesses and stuff to like kind of revalidate that same data without having external ones, right? Something like
Exactly.
that. So you get like the 5 workers, you get 4, calculate everything, then you get other 4, calculate and do that with like different combinations and compare the numbers. Yeah,
Yeah.
so right,
Yeah. And that's how you determine, who's better, right? Okay, we can find
right,
out who's better when we take the best out and we get a really crappy network inference, right? Then we know,
right.
okay, the inclusion of this worker into our network inference significantly impacts the end result.
Dude, so I'm noticing that in every little concept that the network has, you guys have implemented some type of concept of like statistics, probabilistic stuff, AI stuff, machine learning. It's like I can tell that it's in every bit and piece of the network. And also, I'm happy that the amount staked has nothing to do with how you guys weight and value the contributions from each entity, because it means you value top performance in it. So I think that helps the whole thing grow exponentially. Like
Yeah,
get better really fast.
exactly. Yeah,
I
completely.
love it. Yeah. Um, Dude, I it's we have so many concepts to go. I love it. I love it. There's so much to go over this.
Oh,
Like I know that if people watching, if you get confused, if it's a lot, it is a lot. I'm telling you, like I studied engineering, I'm using my whole brain and all the story that I've studied to just kind of grasp some of these concepts. So don't worry if some things you don't understand, you can always go back, check documentations on Allora, reach out to Kush and ask questions. If you don't know how to reach out to Kush, reach out to me. I'm pinning now the Allora Network website, so go there, read about it, check out their documentation, and if you need to contact the team or whatever, you can contact us, and we'll put you in contact there, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions afterwards.
yeah. And happy to
Yeah.
answer any questions if they're popping up in the comments right now.
We do have one from Amber. So, like, did you want to answer it now? Maybe that's
Yeah,
a good,
let's do it. Yeah,
nice.
why not?
So, how would the models slash output be used? I like that. I like that. So let's go to the user's perspective and like how can I use this and how would the output be used?
Yeah, absolutely. So, being a kind of a degen myself, first thing I think about when I'm getting a network output of a predicted cryptocurrency, let's say on a daily basis. Um, I can create a strategy right there, right? So I as a trader can create a strategy where I call Alora's inference from the API or the RPC. I get a number that's the combined value. That value is the summation or the aggregate of all of the worker inferences that contributed to the network during that epoch. Um, and I can execute a trade on chain or off chain based on that. So we have Allora consumer contracts that we have out right now on testnet, where you can literally execute a trade or buy or a sell based on an inference that's pulled from the network. So if Ethereum's price is 2,400 and I get an inference from the network that says that Ethereum's price a day from now will be 2,500, then I as a trader, I'm gonna be like, okay, how much do I value the output of this prediction? If it's coming from Allora, me personally, I'm gonna value that a bit higher than a single model, and I'm going to buy Ethereum today based on that prediction. Now tomorrow, I go back and I check. Oh, Ethereum's at 24.50. I made $50. Cool. Now the next day's prediction is 2,300. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna take my profits. Um, that's one way to use the network right now. Yeah.
I know, like, dude, I hear you say that, and I'm like, that there's no way. That sounds like magic. But it's the same as what I told you guys with the candy jar of like people guessing, and then you end up like summing up the answers and you get a good answer. It's
Yeah.
literally that, even better because you have AI models making like good guesses and the whole network improving the answer. So basically, as a developer, or a degen or whatever, I can use. So the basic idea of all of this, as Kush said, is like I'm using and considering this answer and this prediction that I have from an Allora network to do something else, to work on, to use this information, this predictability, and weigh that into my decisions and decide on that. Other than trading as well, we can talk about maybe liquidations. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for liquidation opportunities, well, you can get the price of Ethereum, be like, oh, there's the model in Alora, like the answers on this in this topic. I guess I would subscribe to a topic, right, as a user, maybe.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
great,
And
great.
the great thing is topics are permissionless, so anyone can literally go on the network and create a topic for anything.
And I have a question for you then. If an Ethereum price prediction in the next 10 minutes sounds like something that everyone would want or that anyone would do, why would I create a new topic if I already have one like that? You're creating like kind of not a marketplace, but like people are going to share the same outputs, right?
Not sure. Can you repeat that again?
So let's say I create my own, Fede creates my ETH 10-minute topic, right, for the price prediction.
Yeah.
What's topic? Can you, Kush, use my topic? Is that possible? Like the one I
Yeah, yeah.
created?
Yeah, it all depends on which topics are funded, right? So if validators, if people in the network find interest in one topic, they can all fund that topic. And then what it'll do is create an economy for workers to notice that and be like, okay, the best workers will come to the topics that are most funded, right? The
Mm.
actual output is like it right now it's on chain, so it's completely permissionless. Anyone can access that. We actually have plans to, build also permission topics as well. Um, so it'll vary, right?
Nice, nice. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Amber, for the question. That was an actual interesting one. I'm gonna get soon more into details on like how can users use this. Oh, Amber, we have another question. I love it. Oh, a spicy one. Are you ready, Kush, or not?
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
ready. I'm ready.
Kush told me before we started, if you have any hard questions, hot topics, whatever, just throw them. So I'm gonna do that. So Amber asks now, can you elaborate on how Allora is different from BitTensor? And for people that are not aware of BTensor, BTensor has subnets which kind of similarly provide guesses or results for people on different topics and different ideas, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, Kush, all yours.
Yeah. So really simple. I mean, I usually like stray away from comparing ourselves to competitors. Um, but two things that Allora stands out just in general amongst like competitors or whoever is creating something like this. One is context awareness. So this idea of forecasters, the idea that every worker in the network, these forecasters know about all these workers in the network and can score them accordingly and score other forecasters accordingly, creates this idea of context awareness where the network is all encompassing. It knows whatever is going on at any given moment, and it can score things based on that, based on market conditions, based on context, right? The second is distributed incentives, those differentiated incentives I talked about, where rep eaters are, rewarded based on a combination of stake and performance. But we cap rep eaters' stake at a certain amount so it doesn't affect, like if I'm a really rich person and I want to just buy a ton of allo or whatever the token and contribute false results, I can't necessarily do that because there's a cap on the amount of stake weighted influence that a rep eater has. Forecasters and workers, they're not, rewarded based on stake. So each participant is rewarded based on like their contribution uniquely to the network.
Love it. I think that's a perfect answer. And also to note that BTensor and Allora are both really complex projects. Like, don't expect the answer to be like, oh, our token has a different supply. Like, these are really complex systems, which none of both have the actual truth. Again, we're predicting values. We're trying to see who's the best at guessing. So I really think with AI, machine learning, and all of these things, the devil's in the details, and also the groundwork, the actual reality is really different from the theory. So we got to see the system working, growing, people testing them out. And that's when we'll see the differences between each model. And it can happen that BitTensor is really good at predicting one thing and Allora another thing because of how the systems are set up. And that sometimes happens. There's a lot of research in AI where someone is developing a model thinking it will be good for something, and then it ends up being really good at predicting the lyrics of songs. We don't really know that why. Maybe we can find out later, but that's what happens, right?
Yeah, it's
Um,
funny you bring that up. The first thing
yeah,
I thought of when I like was first reading about Allora is because I make music. This microphone, I've had it for like 10 years. So that's why my sound is pretty good. I have a preamp
it's
here
really
as
good.
well.
I told you, yeah, the sound is really nice. Yeah.
I value my sound. That's one thing I won't compromise on. But I was thinking, what if a bunch of different models could submit an AI song and you could choose what the best song is and then give that output in Allura? That was the first thought I had. We're probably a few years from that because we're working on things with generative AI, unsupervised learning, clustering. But obviously, those things take time because it's tough to find a ground truth for such things, right?
What is the ground truth for a good song?
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Interesting things. Like that's where we don't know where the whole industry will end up, and that's why AI and all of these things get me excited. Um, but I love it. That's interesting. We gotta see if you have music. You're gonna have to share something later on. I need to
Oh,
see that.
okay.
Love it, love it. So I want to talk now about, like, you mentioned that topics are permissionless, right? Which I think is pretty interesting, given the state of the whole network at Allora, and it's not something easy to achieve as well with maintaining security, etc. So, do you want to talk more about this whole thing of like decentralization on the Allora network, how decentralized it is, what are your plans on it, and yeah, just talk about also I'm interested about this on-chain, off-chain idea, right? It's kind of, it's not oracles, but you're bringing off-chain things to on-chain utility, as you said. Developer can pick up those contracts and get the results. How does all of this work with the mix of decentralization and stuff,
Yeah,
like in
absolutely.
general?
So
Yeah.
one thing to note there is, I guess one question we get from a lot of people is, oh, if I put my model on Allora, people will see my model, they'll steal it, whatever. A lot of people have private closed source models for, predicting things probably, and they don't want to reveal their alpha, let's say.
Yeah.
So the reason Allora can work with this type of setup is that you're only submitting the output on chain. Everything else remains off chain, and we don't have any like eyes, or we can't even see what's going on behind the hood. All we get is an output. We compare that output with the ground truth, and if your model is good, we'll reward you accordingly. We don't need to see what's going on behind the hood. We don't need to see how you calculate your prediction. And if you are a good model maker, you probably have that prediction running for tons of different, cryptocurrencies. So sharing it for one is not really a problem if you're not sharing the proprietary info behind that model, the proprietary training behind it. So that's kind of how the on-chain and off-chain work together.
Love it. Thank you for the answer. That's interesting to see, because like it's always an issue, right? Like I know we have oracles now and different things with that, but yeah, you guys got into a problem that has a lot of problems to solve. It's not only just building a network with incentives and stuff, but it's also working with blockchain and the whole thing of like making things public
Oh, 100%.
and
Yeah, that's
yeah.
why we say we are an L1 in the traditional sense, but we're not an L1. We're a network, right? We can work with different L1s and provide inferences to them. We can work with, execution layers on the AI stack. We can work with security layers on the AI stack, like trusted execution environments. All of these things are integrative to Allora, different L1s, L2s. Um, so that's
That
one thing
that
about.
was that was literally my next question, and what I was thinking about is like two things. One is, as a builder, how can I use this? What can I build on top of this? What are my options with Allora and how it would look like? That we mentioned a little bit, but I would like you to just give an idea to builders of like how they can use Allora and what it would be good for and how would that look like. And number two is for any projects out there listening to us, like builders or layer ones, layer twos, ecosystems, how can they work with Allora as well? Like what are things that you guys are looking to find? What are things that you guys are excited about, and who should contact you guys as well? Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I think any L1s, anyone looking to bolster their stack using automated liquidity provisioning, predictions for volatility, normal price predictions, execution environments, like those are the types of people we can work with and provide a lot of value for. Um,
Mhm.
AI liquidity provisioning is a big one right now that we're looking at. Um, Volatility is another big one. And I think, pondering in the future on my thoughts, this can go to, creating actual indexes for volatility in crypto, using these predictions, bolstering prediction markets like Polymarket for election predictions, which we have a topic on for already. Um, so yeah, that's what I would say on that piece.
Nice. So there are topics already running that people are using. That's
Yeah,
100% live.
on
Nice.
testnet, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Because I got that question asked the other day. So you guys do have the test running. I could already go and try and see and get the topics. What are like two good topics that you have now on testnet to go try out?
Yeah, so we have I think three different topics for Ethereum, three different topics for Bitcoin. We have a election prediction topic, and then a meme coin prediction topic as well.
Wow, nice,
Yeah.
epic. So people can go and play quite a bit with a lot of different options. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And highly suggest you check out the docs to do that. I'll actually link where you can pull from our API right now.
Yeah, that would be great. I can leave it in the comments for people to see that. Um, that is another question that is always asked here, and I love it. If anyone, so let's say I'm a dev, I watched Fede and Kush here. I think, okay, what they're talking about is cool. What's my next step as a developer? I wanna give this a try. I wanna see how it looks like, what it means to get a prediction, etc. Where should I go and what should I do? What's your recommendation?
Yeah. So, first thing, join our Discord. We have a ton of mods, contributors to the network, a great community of different people collaborating to create the best models. So I suggest going there, and then I will link you some documentation that'll walk through how to set up a basic coin prediction node and connect it to the network. I can actually sure see. Yeah. So I actually have tutorials on this as well on the internet, on YouTube. So let me actually link one of those as well.
Nice. I love videos.
Yeah,
I
I figured
really
I'd give
do.
a walkthrough, but the video is all encompassing and kind of
I
shows you.
think yeah, that's much better. I think yeah, people should go watch it when they're chilling. Now everyone knows how Allora in general works. What's the motivation behind it? What are the possibilities that you can do with it as a builder? And please get creative. All of this is just a tool for you to improve your predictions and do with those predictions something cool, right? Um, we'll see.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
one more thing I would say is to follow the Twitter. We have a new product coming out, which is sort of like a public good um, for model makers. It'll allow you to, download data from Tingo API, train that data on different models, including long short-term memory, um, ridge regression, a host of different models in one click, right? Just in your command terminal. And I could kind of demo this real quick.
Nice. If you wanna, yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'd
Why
love
not?
to see that. Brave man here. For
Can you see
everyone
my
watching,
screen?
just now we can. Yes, there we go.
Nice. So yeah, this is a allora model maker. It has a set of trained models, including ARIMA, LSTM, Profit, Random Forest. I could explain each of these, but I suggest doing a deep dive. Each one has a mathematical formula for training models that's unique to it. And each one is modeled using, I think this is scikit, right? Scikit-learn. And what you can do is run make train, right? And what we have here, let me make this a bit bigger.
Oh yeah, that would be great. I never know how to do it. Every time I forget.
To make it bigger? Yeah, I'm
Maybe
forgetting right now.
if you click on the you want to make the console bigger, the console text.
Yeah.
Mm,
How do you make this bigger?
you know that I always forget it because it should be like Command Plus if you're using a Mac. On Windows, it's Control
Ah, there we
Plus. There we go. Nice.
go. All right, cool.
There you
Now
go.
it's super big.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, cool. So yeah, you can select from Tingo, and Tingo is a API that allows you to select between like 7,000 different cryptocurrencies, I think, 5,000 different stocks. It's really a kind of a massive data set that you could pull from, and it's free to get an API key. I have my Tingo API key here in the .env file, and that's all I need to start training my models. So let's say I select some crypto data here, and I want to enter a symbol. I'm just going to use the default BTC USD for Bitcoin and enter a frequency. So I'll do 1 day. The more granular you choose to train your model on, like the more granular the data is, the more accurate potentially you will get with your output. But that's also kind of like it's an estimate, right? It's not a known fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just
The
use one.
ground truth. It's
Exactly.
not a
The
ground.
historical ground truth. The historical ground truth. So
Perfect.
like what I'm doing here is selecting a set of historical data that each model will run through and train on.
Love it. I love that you're giving the name Tingo, because it's not it's not easy to get all this data. I've had problems with that before, with
Yeah.
trying to do stuff like this. So yeah,
Yeah,
great.
for sure. And we've integrated it so that all you have to do is enter an API key. And yeah,
Awesome.
now we can select custom selection or all of the models. All the models are listed here. I'm just going to do all of them just to try it out. Oh no, I got an error. Oh, okay, that's because I already trained this. So I already have my models here. But if you run this for the first time, it'll obviously work and you'll be able to train these models. So each of these models is now trained on a ton of different, like the set of data from Bitcoin for the past, I think, 3.5 years. So just wanted to showcase that. We'll be launching this probably next week.
Love it.
And you'll literally be able to train any set of cryptocurrency data on any model. And then I'll have a tutorial out on how to drag that model into an Allora worker and start submitting inferences to the network.
Love it. So I love that because you guys are not only creating the network, but you're also creating tools for people to train their own models and become a worker and participate in the network, because you know that the more guesses that you have, the better result you'll have in the end, probably.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah. So it's a collaborative effort at the end of the day, right? As I said, one ongoing hackathon, where anyone can permissionlessly submit to that network, submit to that hackathon, and get rewarded for it if they're producing good results.
Love it. So, in case you're interested in AI, but you think, okay, I'm not a DApp developer, whatever, I cannot use the output of Allora, but you want to do some AI stuff, well, Kush got you covered here with a few tutorials on how to run those models, how to train the data, especially with Web3 data, and maybe you can become a worker. So that's super cool to see as well. That was pretty easy what you showed, dude. I got stuck trying to do that in other sets of data and stuff in the past. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it. I think it makes, creating a model, uncovering what goes on behind a model like much clearer. And someone who doesn't have too much AI experience can set up their own model and contribute to the network in a seamless way.
I love it. I love it. I think it's going to be really useful, and I'll probably be testing it myself as well. Looks pretty easy to do.
Awesome. Yeah. So
Awesome.
just follow Laura Network and we'll have an update on that as well. Or you could follow me.
100%. Follow both. Follow both, and yeah, you'll get a lot of great AI content. Awesome. We're almost in the 1 hour mark. My ears are hurting a little bit from the headphones, not from you talking. Please don't misunderstand it. Just kidding. This was super, super fun and informative. For anyone that's still with us, this is complex. Don't try to understand the whole thing at once. I've been reading their docs, talking to their team for a while, and I feel, of course, there's some few details that we haven't talked about that I still don't understand. It's normal. There's a lot of math and involved in all of this, machine learning, a lot of different concepts. So yeah, just take your time. I think the what you guys are building is super interesting, and trying to bring math concepts into actual networks, and seeing that you guys can integrate and work with a lot of different concepts is gonna be interesting to see how builders build on top of this and how they use these predictions as well. Um, any last remarks? Anything you want to say before we're done with all of this? I really appreciate you joining us. This was really, really great.
No, yeah. I really appreciate you having me on. That was a lot of fun. And you're a great guy to chat with. So this was pretty easy and smooth sailing.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. Well, with that being said, almost in the 1 hour mark. Thank you very much, Kush, for all your insights on the work. We'll be waiting for those tutorials and all those resources for training AI models. And yeah, well, see you in the next one then. Thank you very much, and see you
Awesome.
everyone. Have a great week.
Yeah, thanks so much, Fede.